Raila and Azimio's mega rally today at the historical Jacaranda grounds in Nairobi was the grandmother of all political rallies. Yeah, to quote somebody at this Azimio meeting. Actually, DAP party leader Eugene Wamalwa, I totally agree with what he said. It evoked memories of the grand mega political rally of the year 1992 of a unified political party called Ford. Oh, it brought so many memories flooding back for me. And at that time in the 90s, it was Moi must go. Today in the year 2023, it is Ruto must go. Those are the chants we had rocking the Jacaranda grounds. In my opinion, this was a very loud political statement from Kenyans that cannot be ignored. Remember, Kenyans are passing through a lot of hardships. Yeah. Many of you taking this channel may not fully understand. Yeah, but not everybody lives around that area. Many of these people walked long distances to attend this rally. Many of the people in this rally made sacrifices. Maybe missed a meal or two so that they could be there with history at the Jacaranda grounds. And I'm not exaggerating. It was historical. But I have to confess the day started very nervously. At least for me, I was very nervous because of the stories that were doing the rounds. Yeah. How the government would respond to this particular meeting. How the government would not allow such a loud statement to be seen by the entire world. Because remember, this is the side, this is the political side that lost, in quotes, allegedly. Yeah, this is the side that lost. And if it is true, of course it's not, but if it's true that this was the side that lost the 2022 presidential elections, then it would have been very easy to settle this. Because the side that won would have held its own rally elsewhere in Nairobi, yeah, and attracted even 25% of the crowd that was at Jacaranda. Then maybe people would have started believing. Anyway, let me be quick with this. Please allow me to be quick. I will do other videos later. Yeah, but then it's good to capture the highlights when they're still fresh on the mind. And one of the highlights from this particular mega political rally were the bombshells Raila Odinga dropped. Now, we have been told by the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, and his cronies, that somebody tried to bribe them to alter the election results. They've kept on repeating that. And in fact, Chebukati himself has been hailed as a hero for resisting. But today, Baba told us to ask the IEBC and Chebukati what they were doing going to visit Raila at his home. What was the purpose? What was the objective of that meeting? And that's not all. Raila Odinga told us he has proof, he has photographs of that visit. And Raila added that the IEBC also visited the top man in Jubilee at that time. You know, the guy whom, if he wanted to get to the high command of Jubilee during President Uhuru's reign, the man you'd have to see, Raphael Tuju. Raila told us that Raphael Tuju has got video footage evidence of IEBC officials visiting him. Yeah. And what they wanted during those visits should be rather obvious. Although Tuju has told us very clearly in the past what they wanted. You know, in the country called Kenya, we have something very evil. Okay? You will get into trouble, for instance, with a traffic policeman. And when you're in the police station, the policeman will ask you the following question. Sasa ulikuwa unasemaje? Now, that question is loaded. In other words, what the policeman is saying, what kind of cash do you have to offer? We forget about this issue. What kind of cash do you have to offer so that we rule in your favor? What kind of cash do you have to offer so that we ensure 1, 2, 3 in your favor? That's really what it is. Unfortunately, this is a terrible ailment, a disease we have in the nation called Kenya, corruption. And it would seem that some people now have evidence, solid, irrefutable evidence to show us that the electoral body we trusted with our votes, the electoral body that we trusted to deliver free, verifiable, transparent results, the IEBC, is just as Kenyan as many corrupt Kenyan entities. That is the truth. That is the terrible truth. The other highlight of Jacaranda today was that the meeting was charged. Hey! Kenyans are angry. You can clearly see that. Yeah. Kenyans want Ruto gone. Yesterday. That was very visibly clear. Very clear. And the crowds at Jacaranda clearly told you that this is the feeling of the vast majority of Kenyans. Every corner of the nation was represented at Jacaranda. That is the truth. There were reports that security around State House Nairobi was beefed up. Yeah, and somebody whispered to me, I'm yet to verify this information, that may have been one of the reasons why it was difficult to organize serious security for the meeting at the Jacaranda. There was no security at that meeting. Azimio organized its own security. There were no policemen around. You couldn't see them. Probably there were some there in plainclothes, yeah, for intelligence purposes, gathering information and so on and so forth. But there were no visible uniformed or branded police cars on site anywhere. But the meeting proceeded and ended peacefully. We thank God for that. And I want to reveal today that these meetings that we see that seem so easy to organize, there is a lot of work that goes on in the background. Because you know, this is politics. Your opponent can plant people within the crowd, even wearing exactly like you, wearing your party colors. Yeah, they can be planted within you to cause trouble. Yeah, so that people may say tomorrow, Azimio caused trouble. Azimio are troublemakers. Azimio threw stones. Yeah, and that of course would be a great victory for UDA. And so if you're a patriotic Kenyan anywhere in the world, we need to thank these gallant patriotic Kenyans behind the scenes, most of whom we will never know about. We'll never know their names, who they are, or what they did. And we also need to pray for them, yeah, for God's blessings, what they've done. Excellent job in my opinion, and not a very easy job to execute. Of course, the reason why there was added security, beefed up security around State House, was the fear that the crowd would become so charged that they would probably decide to take Raila to State House. Yeah, that was the fear, but it never happened. And we thank God for that. Because even those of us who want change in Kenya want it to come peacefully. Yeah. Many may laugh and say that's a tall order, but we still pray for peace in our country. And we still pray for a peaceful resolution over the current crisis facing our nation. Violence will not help anybody. Don't. And after all, violence spawns even more violence. We need to borrow from a great Indian, a man called Mahatma Gandhi, who led a very peaceful resistance against the British colonialists and was successful. I totally understand that younger Kenyans and those safely in their apartments would like to see trouble. However, those of us who God has allowed to live a little longer on the face of the earth, we know the consequences of that road. That is a road we do not want to go to. And every Kenyan must try their very best to ensure that we never go anywhere near that road. Let it just be peaceful to the end. Almighty God, I pray, help us. Now I know all of you are waiting for me to talk about the political impact of the mega rally today at the Jacaranda grounds. That's really what you want to hear. Okay? So let's go for it. You know what I really like about the Azimio strategy is that they're not in a hurry. Yeah, think of a chess game. Which kind of player would you respect more? The kiherehere player who is making moves and jumping all over the place? Or the quiet player who's making his moves slowly? Just picks up a piece, moves it, is very calm, and he knows he's winning. I think I'd prefer the latter. And using this Mosmos strategy, Azimio has now proved to Kenyans and to the world, beyond any shadow of doubt, that Azimio has the numbers. Which means that they must have had the numbers in the 2022 general elections, which will force any doubting Thomases to sit up and pay more attention to what the IEBC whistleblowers were telling us, the figures they gave us and the data. Because all that data tallies with what we saw at Jacaranda. Number two, I am overjoyed. I'm very happy. And I'm not ashamed to say how happy I am and how excited I am that the political star of Martha Wangari Karua is clearly on the rise. Yeah. A woman, a daughter of our beloved nation Kenya. You know, to me it is very important that when I go out there as a Kenyan and people start telling me how corrupt my nation is, how we do not have any honest leaders who care about the people and who care about the law and justice, it is very important to me that I can start mentioning names like Martha Karua, Raila Odinga, etc., etc. A handful of months ago, Martha Karua could hardly make a good speech in Kiswahili, but she's improving tremendously. And she's positioning herself as a very important national leader. Yeah. Deputy President to Raila Odinga, according to data from the whistleblower, and a rising star a future great president of the country called Kenya. Martha Karua is a reflection of the Kenyan woman, who are hotcakes all over the world. Beautiful, but also intelligent, charming, and patriotic. That's a Kenyan woman for you. And we should all be very proud of our women. Don't get me wrong. We have some women who are trying to play the game. Style your UDA. We have them. Yeah. But people like Martha Karua will always be reminders that that is not the Kenyan woman. No. Never ever. Point number 3 is very important. Yeah. And it's the crux of this matter. Change for the better is not instant coffee. Justice is not instant coffee. These are things you have to fight for long and hard. Nothing good in this life comes easily. And this justice that Azimio are fighting for is good for Kenya. It is good for Kenya because Azimio seeks change in the country called Kenya. It is good for Kenya, even if you don't believe what I've just said. It is good for Kenya because our elections must never be stolen again. It is not fair to snatch away the right of Kenyans to choose the leaders of their choice. Okay? Not leaders selected on their behalf. Not leaders generated from a server in Venezuela. No. And my point here is that Jacaranda today was a very major blow in the direction of getting justice, and especially electoral justice for Kenya. Point number 4, which is also very important. Jacaranda proved beyond any doubt that Azimio, in its quest to get justice, is very determined to stick to constitutional means. Our constitution allows protests against injustice, against injustices. Our constitution allows the people of Kenya to stand up and say no. It is fully constitutional, enshrined in our constitution. Which brings me to the other highlight that I left out deliberately. Raila said that Azimio are demanding that inspectors from the United Nations, from the Commonwealth, from outside the country, within 2 weeks are allowed into the country to do a very thorough forensic audit of what is inside the IEBC servers. Of course, they have also already requested that what is in the IEBC servers is made public, which to me is something that should be automatic. It's not even something we should request, because the results of the elections, which we all voted in, should that be secret? The tiny details, the small details of that election, which are in that server, should that be secret? Should Kenyans have to beg for it? Seriously? Think about it. So this move by Raila Odinga and Azimio clearly tells us that Azimio is not interested in non-constitutional means of getting their justice. If they were, then the beefed up security at State House would have been justified. They'd have been troubled. Would have seen so many things go wrong in Kenya. And so far we have not seen that. And let me give you some secret information. It's not that people have not tried. It's not that people have not tried. But so far, as may have clearly showed us, they are very determined to remain within the confines of our constitution. And that to me was the greatest victory of Jacaranda today. By far. Folks, that huge wave I was talking about was very clearly visible today. It was clear. Yeah. And nobody can now challenge me. Wewe Chris, history yako ya wave, sijaona wave. You can't. Because it was clearly visible. Of course, it's your constitutional right to remain in the dark and to choose not to see. Yeah. But even when an ostrich buries its head deep in the sand, that does not stop the fire that is rapidly approaching. Does it? It doesn't. Never ever. You know, there's a wise man who once said, you can never stop an idea whose time has come. Yeah, and the idea for justice, the idea for a new Kenya, the idea for no to theft of our votes, that time has come. And I believe you cannot stop this idea. It can't be stopped. You cannot stop this wave. You can't. Now, Raila Odinga ended his meeting with some very explosive statements. For instance, he challenged President Ruto to stop talking about watu kuuawa kiolela olela. And he reminded Kenyans to ask, what happened to the ICC witnesses who were lined up against Ruto? What happened to them? People like Mesha Kebe. Raila asked Kenyans to ask questions, like what happened to Chris Msando, the IEBC computer guru, during the 2017 elections, an employee of the IEBC, the only man with the password to the server at that time. What happened to him? In my opinion, this is one of the most daring remarks towards the president that Raila has ever made since everything started. And it probably tells us that we should expect more in the coming weeks. And by the way, there's yet another mega rally scheduled for the Kumekucha grounds next Sunday. So what Azimio are doing, they're building up the momentum and they're keeping it going. Now please allow me to quickly remind you about my weekly intelligence briefings. We released 94, 95 and 96 at once, all those three at once recently. And if you've not yet caught them, you're missing out on some key information so that you understand what's going on here. For instance, who were the powers behind what happened on August 2022? My WIB number 94 reveals that. What kind of help have Azimio gotten, including even the whistleblower, secret help from a very well-known Kenyan, to get us to where we are today? WIB number 95 reveals that. Very shocking. And finally, we saw what happened at the Jacaranda grounds today. Is that in line with the Raila's plan? The real blueprint to State House that Raila has, is it? I will say yes. And my WIB number 96 reveals the whole Raila plan. Very devastating. Very difficult to stop. Get all that highly sensitive information. I believe you can see details on your screens right now, in case you're not yet a member. And by the way, I am finalizing on weekly intelligence briefings number 97. I will not reveal at this time what it's about, but it is very hot. And it's something to do with the events surrounding Jacaranda today. Some very crazy information. It should be out in 2 or 3 days, so you can look out for it. And of course, you'll be in a better position if you're already a subscriber, you're already a member, because it'll land pop in your inbox and you can have that information. all for a better Kenya. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.